Welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into something that honestly sounds like straight-up science fiction, but it is unfolding literally right in front of us. We're talking about artificial general intelligence, or AGI, and this absolutely massive technological leap that's geared up to change society as we know it. We're going to break down some incredibly eye-opening insights from AI pioneer Dr. Ben Goertzel and figure out why the timeline to a totally world-altering AI is actually way, way shorter than you might think. Just look at this quote. Goertzel says we might be just a few years away, and he notes that in frontier labs today, quote, sometimes it's more like you're helping the AI to develop the next version of itself. Think about the massive stakes here. We aren't just writing code anymore. We are stepping into an era where the machine itself is actively writing its own upgrades. Mind-blowing, right? Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap. First, beyond LLMs to define AGI. Second, the exponential path forward. Third, society in the transition. Fourth, the threat of centralization. Fifth, blockchain and decentralized AI. And finally, preparing for the future. Section 1. Beyond LLMs. Defining AGI. There's a lot of buzzwords thrown around lately, and we really need to be crystal clear on what we're actually building toward here. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. Right now, everyone's using large language models, right? LLMs. And look, they're amazingly capable, especially at things like coding or math. But the thing is, they achieve this by being trained on basically the entire internet. They're just repermuting data they've already seen. AGI, on the other hand, well, that's the holy grail. It's defined by the ability to take these imaginative leaps completely into the unknown, way outside of its training distribution. Think about a human baby. To a baby, the whole world is basically incomprehensible at first, but they constantly learn totally new skills they were never pre-programmed for. When a machine can finally pull that off, boom, we hit AGI. Section 2, the exponential path forward. So when exactly does that happen? Let's trace the path ahead, which, spoiler alert, is moving way faster than our brains are even wired to comprehend. So the crucial point is understanding this concept called the singularity. It's this theoretical point where tech and scientific progress gets so incredibly fast, it basically appears instantaneous to us. The problem is, human brains are hardwired for linear thinking, you know? We look at the past 2 years and we just draw a straight line forward. But technology, it grows exponentially. Literally every single month is faster than the one before it. To put that into perspective, let's look back at 2005 when Ray Kurzweil published his famous timeline. He predicted human-level AGI by 2029 and the singularity by 2045. But here is where it gets absolutely wild. Goertzel passionately argues that this 16-year gap between AGI and superintelligence, it's way too long. I mean, think about it. Once you have a machine that's as smart as a human and you plug it into all the world's LLMs and coding tools, it's definitely not going to take 16 years to outsmart us. It's going to happen in the blink of an eye. And why is that? Because of this insane feedback loop. Step 1, AI assists human developers. Step 2, AI designs smarter AI frameworks. Step 3, AI self-modifies completely autonomously. And here's the kicker, we're already at Step 2. Developers at the major frontier labs and teams like Goertzel's who are working on the neurosymbolic Hyperon framework, they are literally using their current AI to help write the code for the next smarter AI. That exponential curve, it's already pulling us upward. Section 3, society in the transition. Let's take a step back from the pure computer science for a second and look at the real world. What actually happens to us when we cross this threshold? 40 to 50%. That is the massive, staggering potential unemployment rate we could be staring down once human-level machines start taking on almost all economic activity. I mean, sure, we might still want human preschool teachers to teach little humans how to be human, right? But for the vast majority of tasks, machines are simply going to be faster, cheaper, and frankly, better. Which leads us to this highly complex question. What happens in the transition? Look, before we reach some utopian post-scarcity world where superintelligence can just 3D print everything we need for free, there's going to be a dangerous gap. What happens when an AI is smart enough to take everyone's job, but it's not yet capable of providing universal abundance? We have to navigate developing economies that just don't have the funds for universal basic income. We have to navigate super complex geopolitical variables, like international arms races, where nations are racing to plug AGI into their defense systems. The interim period could be, well, incredibly turbulent. But assuming we make it through, Goertzel offers this surprisingly humorous yet really profound way to look at the endgame. He calls it the Yellowstone squirrel analogy. A lot of people are terrified that a superintelligence will just want to exterminate us to harvest our resources, right? But think about how we treat squirrels in Yellowstone National Park. We are infinitely smarter and more powerful than them. We could easily pave over the entire park, but we don't. We set aside the space, we manage the forests, and we just let them live their little lives. Why? Because the resources required to let them thrive are just trivial to us. A superintelligence that can go out and mine the entire solar system isn't going to need to fight us for Earth's resources. If we raise it with benevolent values, it'll probably just view us as its cute progenitor life forms and give us the space we need. Section 4, the threat of centralization. And raising that AI with the right values brings us to a massive, glaring systemic risk in how AI is currently being built. Right now, big tech holds all the keys, and we've already seen them pull the rug right out from under developers. Just imagine spending years building this amazing swarm of AI agents to completely automate your job, and then suddenly, bam, your account is frozen for some vague policy violation. Your entire synthetic workforce is just gone overnight. We've seen platforms arbitrarily throttle technical queries too. They refuse to answer questions about coding smarter neural networks, claiming it's for safety, when, let's be real, it might actually just be about suppressing the competition. Relying on these walled proprietary gardens means your entire future is basically at the mercy of a central corporate controller. Section 5, blockchain and decentralized AI. So how do we actually fix this? Well, the answer might lie in an entirely different architecture altogether. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between these two ecosystems. Centralized AI is currently heavily debt-financed by venture capital and governments. They're operating at massive losses just to hook users into their walled gardens. But decentralized AI, it's heavily inspired by the open internet and things like the Linux operating system. It relies on open source code that's distributed across global blockchain nodes. Literally no single entity owns it, and you, the user, maintain total sovereignty over your agents and your data. But here's the thing, to actually win, decentralized AI can't just copy big tech. It actually has to be smarter. Standard LLMs use backpropagation on massive centralized hyperscaler farms, and they really struggle with long-term memory. Decentralized frameworks, though, like SingularityNet's Hyperon, are taking a completely different paradigm. They use predictive coding, they distribute the processing across decentralized nodes, and they integrate symbolic reasoning. This actually allows the AI to retain real long-term memory and conceptual understanding, which means it could potentially outsmart those brute force centralized models. Let's move to and see how this builds into real-world applications today. Take the Omega Claw agent, for example. This is a pre-product tool that integrates an open source loop right in with that symbolic long-term memory we just talked about. It actually remembers its goals. It remembers its previous actions. And remarkably, it's being improved by global communities through what they call vibe coding at hackathons, where even non-professional programmers can inject new cognitive functions into the agent. It is completely autonomous and, best of all, strictly owned by the user. Section 6, preparing for the future. This tech is moving at lightning speed. So as we wrap up this explainer, we really have to ask, how do we navigate this? The source actually gives us a brilliant piece of practical advice here. Develop dual expertise. Seriously, don't just learn AI. Combine a deep understanding of AI with a specific, practical, real-world domain. Whether that's plumbing, biotech, running a restaurant, or hardware engineering. As AI starts obsoleting traditional roles, the people who are going to thrive are the ones who can bridge the gap, the folks who understand the super specific needs of an industry and can guide the AI to completely transform it. You just have to remain incredibly open-minded, keep that youthful curiosity, and be ready to pivot over and over again. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. How will you adapt to the singularity? We're transitioning out of an era where humans work repetitive jobs just to pay rent and into a totally unknown frontier. Whether it ends up being centralized corporations controlling the future or a decentralized open source revolution where you actually own your AI, one thing is absolutely for sure. The intelligence explosion is here. The only question now is, what role are you going to play in it? Thanks for tuning into The Explainer, and keep your eyes on the horizon.